The search for the missing little girl Remy had the town hold their collective breath. Eventually, a volunteer managed to find her in the cornfield, but it would not be the joyful reunion that he expected, because Remy was not alone. There was something behind her, and the volunteer knew that had to take immediate action. This little girl was not out of the woods just yet. When Quinlan, a volunteer in the search and also Remy's uncle, took a search dog out into the vast cornfields, he finally managed to find his little niece. But he could barely believe in what state he found her. Was he too late? There Remy was, lying motionless on the ground. For a second he thought that something might be really wrong. But then Remy slowly started getting up as if she had just awoken from a deep slumber. Quinlan was ready to pick her up and hug her, but then he saw it. Quinlan took a step back, away from Remy. The search dog he had followed started to growl. There was something behind Remy. But why had Remy made her way so deep into the cornfield? Why had she not responded to all the calls? And what did Uncle Quinlan see behind her? Before we start, smash the like button, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Timber Elliott was in the middle of getting her to-do list for the day wrapped up. She had started out with minor chores and was now busy cleaning the house when her young daughter Remy walked in. Remy was 3, and like most kids her age, she got restless easily. Remy asked if she could go play outside. At the time, Timber thought nothing of it, a decision she would later regret. About an hour passed, and Timber was finally ready with all the house chores of the day. She called for Remy to come inside for dinner and started plating up the table. But when a minute passed without Remy coming running into the house, Timber started feeling a little bit worried. About an hour later, Timber had finished up her cleaning and was wrapping up on dinner preparations. It was now time for Remy to come back inside and get a nice cleanup before eating dinner. However, the unexpected occurred. Timber called for Remy to come inside for dinner, but her calls were left unresponded. Timber began to worry. She could feel the stress of the day mixing with her anxiety. She did her best to calm down as she rehashed the details of the evening in her mind. Remy had come in the kitchen and had gone out to the backyard and likely trailed off chasing a bird or small animal. It would not be the first time wanderlust had gotten the better of the toddler. Feeling a little more focused with the scenario she had painted, Timber hurried out the house, into the streets, searching for her little daughter. She called for Remy as she walked down the small community, but still no response. Now, a few more moments had gone by, and Timber felt truly alarmed. Timber had been out for about 30 minutes when she noticed that she was no longer alone. Some neighbors had heard her pleas for her daughter and came out of their houses to check on what was going on. At his point, Timber could not deny the feeling in her gut. Something was definitely wrong. Her daughter was missing. Timber was shaking with worry. Knowing without a doubt that her worst nightmares were now a reality had her very shaken up. Timber dialed 911 while neighbors who had come out earlier made their rounds down the block, informing as many locals and enlisting help in finding the little girl. Not long after she got on the phone with 911, Timber's neighbors had managed to rally more locals and the group of searchers had increased. It didn't take long for them to garner that the little girl was nowhere in their small town. They realized that they would need to search the fields for her. The truth was, Timber lived in a small town that was entirely covered by vegetation. Other than the vast forest behind their farmland, the town also featured a plethora of extremely large cornfields. The town was well known for those fields, and a large part of the town's economy was dependent on it. They searched the large forest for the young girl, hoping she would be found quickly, but it resulted in no luck. The members of the search group had been out for hours, walking and yelling out Remy's name but received no response. Soon they all began to fear the worst-case scenario, the cornfields. Everyone worried that the young girl might have made her way to the dangerous cornfields. Not only were the cornfields thick, they were very difficult to maneuver, and it was quite easy to lose focus and get lost in them. Many members of the search parties feared navigating it so late in the night. The search crew huddled together in worry. It was very clear to them that they would not be able to handle the search on their own for much longer. Especially when the cornfields were involved, the last thing they wanted was more people going missing. They would need professional help. Lucky for them, it was right on the way. Help came just in time and in the form of police officers and their tenacious scout dogs. Timber felt like she was in a daze. Her mind felt foggy with fear as she searched for Remy. But the appearance of the search dogs made Timber pause for the first time since she realized her daughter was missing. The sight of the search team and their dogs made Timber think of Fat Health, the family dog. Timber realized that the dog was also missing. Could the dog be with her daughter? The police split the search party into groups, while the volunteers began to search the edge of the fields. The search dogs were giving Remy's clothes to sniff, in hopes that they would pick up Remy's scent. It seemed once the dogs caught Remy's scent, the search was truly on. However, they didn't seem to catch a break. Instead, it seemed the dogs would have no luck in picking up the young child's trail. As the hours passed, the worry amongst the group seemed contagious. Timber was sick and beside herself with worry. However, she shook her head. She was determined to stay strong and focused. She had to be resilient for her little daughter, who needed her strength more than ever. She did her best to believe in the process. There were now search helicopters roaming the air and searching the fields as the last bit of sunlight faded. Those on the ground had flashlights, but it seemed to matter less as the hours went on. The whole group agreed that in a few more moments there would be very little they could do. As it got darker and darker, it was harder to see even with the blaring lights from the flashlights. They would have to resume in the morning. Timber was utterly distraught, but she knew that the group was right. She nodded as she listened to John Kopp, a close friend of the family, as he explained the dangers associated with searching at night for the young child. It was already like searching for a needle in a haystack with daylight aiding them. Timber listened to John and the other members of the search party. However, she could not take their advice much further than calling off the search. Timber was so riddled with fear that she could not close her eyes for a moment and instead stayed up contemplating where her little daughter might be. While others rested, Timber found herself growing even more desperate to unite with her young daughter. At the break of sunlight, the young woman was out and waiting to begin the search for young Remy once more. To her surprise, Timber found that she was not the only one who shared that eagerness, as countless others had woken up to rejoin her in the search. The large group was rested and eager to begin their work. Breaking down into organized groups and sections, they were all emotionally and physically ready to take on the search campaign for the young child. By 6 a.m., the search party had each received their day's assignment and headed back out to the fields in search of the toddler. As Quinlan stood a few steps away from Remy, the search dog started growling fiercely, the tension in the air palpable. His heart raced, and his mind raced even faster. Something was wrong. Remy, though motionless at first, slowly began to stir, as if waking from a deep slumber. Quinlan instinctively moved toward her, ready to scoop her up in his arms and bring her to safety. But then he saw it. Something was behind her, lurking in the shadows. Quinlan froze. The search dog continued to growl, its fur bristling with tension. Whatever it was closer than he had anticipated. The thing behind Remy wasn't just a shadow, it was moving, shifting as it drew nearer. Quinlan slowly backed away from Remy, scanning the surroundings, trying to understand what was happening. Why hadn't Remy responded to any of the calls? Why had she wandered so deep into the cornfield, and what exactly was following her? Just as Quinlan was about to step forward again, something unexpected happened. The creature behind Remy emerged from the shadows, a large, bloodied stray dog, trembling with exhaustion and fear. It was clear it had been in some kind of fight. Its wounds were fresh, its body weak. The dog, covered in dirt and grime, had been following Remy for an unknown reason, possibly in search of help or safety. Quinlan, now realizing the situation wasn't as dangerous as he feared, took a cautious step forward. The dog growled again but seemed to calm down as Quinlan spoke gently, his voice low and steady. He had been prepared for something much more sinister, but the truth was far more tragic. The dog had been lost and injured, much like Remy, but it had found its way to her. "Hey, buddy," Quinlan whispered, kneeling down. "You're all right now." The search dog, now more relaxed, stopped growling. Quinlan turned his attention back to Remy, who had started to sit up, looking confused but unharmed. Quinlan quickly called for the rest of the search party to approach. The dog was no longer a threat, but Remy needed to be taken to safety immediately. He carried her carefully, making sure to stay close to the injured dog, which followed them for a while before disappearing back into the cornfield. As the group made their way back to the town, Quinlan couldn't help but wonder how Remy had ended up in such a precarious situation. The cornfields were thick, and it was easy to get lost in them, but there was more to the story, questions that would need answers. Why had Remy wandered so far from home? And what had led her to the edge of danger in the first place? Despite the relief that Remy was safe, Quinlan couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that something more was hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered. This was just the beginning of a mystery that no one could have anticipated.